So it's been a few weeks since we've been able to meet, and I have some of the kind of parts that stuck with me from our last meeting, but I also thought maybe I should just ask first what is most on your mind to talk about now.
Yeah, I guess I've been doing a lot of thinking. That's kind of what I do. I think a lot about things. So, yeah, just from last time I was thinking about, and I guess just what we talked about last time and some other things that kind of happened along the way to keep trying to connect, and I think just trying to figure out where my anxiety plays a role in all that. And I don't remember if I talked that much about anxiety being the thing that keeps me stuck with academic work.
Yeah.
But like over the last few weeks, I've really noticed like how anxious I've become and how that played a role in my academic work too.
So that's a kind of your latest thought on it is thinking of it as anxiety for you. And when you talked about it, you seemed kind of, like I could tell some parts of it were hard to say.
Yeah, I think. I don't know, it probably is harder for me to think of, my anxiety and me being an anxious person than just thinking, oh, I just have a problem with how I do my work and I procrastinate it. Maybe it's more personal, and also just the fact that I've seen it kind of affecting more than just like my academic work in terms of like my grades. Just maybe I think I see it's hard to think of it as it's hard to see myself as like an anxious. I do see myself as an anxious person. It's just kind of, I don't know. It's hard to look at myself.
Yeah, I think I get it. And like you started with saying, well, yeah, part of it's hard to say. It sounds like the part that's hard to say is because it has you thinking of yourself as, oh, so I'm an anxious person. And when you think that, you don't like how that label sounds.
Yeah, and I don't like how it looks either. I don't like the way that just being anxious, like the person I am when I'm very anxious. I don't like the person I am. I guess that's the hard part.
That was really hard to say. I don't like the person I am.
And I also I think part of it is I need to lean into the anxiety some and realize that to some extent is normal. But I think what happens after that is that then I get just so stuck in I don't like the person I am. Because thinking of being anxious and thinking that's terrible and just kind of ruminating on that and then getting really stuck on the part that doesn't like that.
That self-criticism.
Yeah.
One of the things I noticed a minute ago, and I hesitate because I think you might take it as a criticism, and it isn't a criticism for me, is that after I kind of said what I thought was your thought out loud, I don't like myself. You really got kind of emotional for a moment, I thought. And then where you went next was, I think, kind of back into what does that mean for you? Like you went from feeling emotional about it to thinking about it, and thinking about it seemed to kind of help you feel less emotional about it.
Yeah, probably to that, a lot, and especially with other people, I think like being in the emotional places pretty uncomfortable for me. I guess it feels vulnerable, and I think I don't know if it's because I'm thinking again, but I mean, when I'm on my own, I either try to avoid some of the emotions, especially uncomfortable emotions, and maybe that's where that anxiety comes in, just running from that kind of, just trying to avoid it, not going through it. And then I also find myself on the other side of that the more I try to avoid and run from it, gets exhausting, and when I finally just speak, and then I sometimes feel pretty depressed, and so maybe those, and then that is very emotional, but then it's kind of like emotion I can't handle. It almost feels like, yeah, some emotions are, so I guess the thinking about it is more comfortable.
So you're knowing that might be a pattern for you, that thinking is more comfortable, and so you use that to get away from emotions. And it sounded like you were telling me and realizing that some of why thinking about it is more comfortable is because the emotions get to feeling overwhelming.
It's overwhelming, and it's, and I think it just feels exposed, and, and I guess just thinking back, I guess that's where maybe I feel more seen when, my emotions are up there, and I'm feeling with them, and it just makes sense if I don't like I am, and I don't really want to be seen. A lot of what I do, I think, is just keep it together and make sure that I appear to keep it together, and just so yeah, when I'm very emotional, I'm not all together, and so I guess that's why I don't want to get too emotional at all.
I mean, I think I know what you mean about when you, me, or any of us are emotional with somebody else, it feels vulnerable. And part of what you're saying is that there is that part of you. I mean, we stated a minute ago is kind of global, don't like myself. But now you're thinking of it again as, well, not global, but those parts of yourself that you don't like. That when you're emotional, or letting your emotions kind of come to the surface, your sense is others see that part of me more easily then. And if you go with your strength of thinking, people won't see what you see as the parts you're critical of.
I think that's it, and I think that's kind of feeds into the problem too. That then I think I have issues relating with others. I think they don't make like deep connections very easily with people, and I think part of it is because I'm kind hearted, and I guess I don't let myself be seen very easily, and I mean that can only, at least I think that's a problem as well, because I think the main thing with my anxiety is social. I think I'm qualified for a social anxiety diagnosis, and I think it's around other people. It's like constantly trying to keep it together so nobody dislikes me, but in the process of that, I like guard a lot. That would be what would allow me to connect.
So you thought about kind of thinking about like, I mean, what I'll call a problem, like we're talking about like a problem. And you thought about, okay, so where does it occur? Where does it matter for you? And it sounds like you're saying you know that it's about social situations. That's where you keep yourself guarded. And one of the things you don't like about that is it doesn't let you make as deep a connections with others as you'd want.
I think it's kind of avoiding too. Like the more I avoid that, the more I keep myself from opportunities that would prove me otherwise. And if I were more able to connect with others, and I saw those connections likely still, or whatever it is, I can be vulnerable and still be accepted and all that, then I might foster that thought instead of the thought that says keep it together, because if people see, they're not gonna like that. I won't be good.
Yeah. So you're thinking there's like a possibility for a test that you're not allowing yet. Like you could test this belief that if you let people see you be emotional, be vulnerable, that they would be critical. But you're thinking, well, you don't know unless you let that happen. Thinking maybe if you let it happen, you'd find out that's not true.
Yeah, or even that, or even just that it wouldn't be devastating. Like okay, maybe but the more I think it's like the more I run from it, the scarier it gets. I think that's the whole thing with anxiety. And so maybe, I wouldn't. Maybe I would. Maybe I wouldn't. But I still go through it and make it through, and it would be, it wouldn't be devastating or this big scary thing. And I think it also kind of connects with the academic thing as well, that it's kind of, I've never had a problem with academics before really, until more recently, and I think it's because my work means more about me now than where I am in my education than before.
Now you're in a profession that you mean, in a study that you mean to be your profession and a big part of your identity.
Yeah, and so when I'm writing my papers, it's more about who I am than like the work I'm doing. And so I think that's kind of what has made it more anxiety producing too. That like this is about me, and if I mess up, it's about me too. Or if it's not good enough, then that's kind of reinforcing that.
Yeah, so two thoughts I have there. One for you is that you didn't hesitate as much academically before because it wasn't as personally meaningful. And also, if you did, it didn't matter that much because it wasn't as personally meaningful. And so that's what's made this matter to you now, why it's kind of in your mind, on your heart, talk about. Because it's becoming more, your academic work is becoming more about you, about who you are now.
Yeah, and then that's where it's ironic because just doing things that, I do hesitate and procrastinate and second guess myself, and I even put myself in situations like I had one situation pretty recently where I was pretty much going to just ask for incomplete because I couldn't. And that's almost never happened before, but I become so anxious about it that then I do probably end up doing a worse job at it. And then have even more reason to be anxious about it.
So yeah, recently for you it became a big deal. You went through something that was really quite hard with feeling so anxious about finishing a piece that you almost thought about just going and asking for more time for the course.
Yeah, well, yeah, I would have dropped it if I could have, and I couldn't. But, yeah, and that would have, like thinking big picture, that would have said a lot more about me than just not doing that well on paper, having it incomplete, or at least the way I see it, maybe it wouldn't have. But it seems like that's more significant than, a few points less on something. But yeah, and it was more than just the paper too, because it had to be presented, and I was having involuntary tremors presenting it. That was next. I've been anxious, but not to that point where physiological symptoms get so bad. So, and then that becomes embarrassing, I think, to me too, because then it's really I'm an adult. Yeah, I think it's more than shyness, but I can imagine. I tell myself why can't you just get over that? Or I can imagine some people thinking really get over that.
So part of what really shook you, I didn't mean that way, but what really upset you about it was that you started having some, what you knew were physiological results of the stress. And that sounds like that really set off some self-criticism, almost like you were saying to yourself, well, come on, grow up. You should be able to just get over this. And you had the assumption that others would think that too, if you let them know that was happening for you.
Yeah, I think it was, that was something everybody could see. So at that point, I'm shaking. So everybody can see that. Everybody can see I'm anxious. And I think that was the point where it's well, I can't hide. I'm not doing a good job at hiding it. So I'm not doing a good job on paper. I'm not doing a good job on hiding the anxiety. So
yeah. So you're knowing that. You're knowing, yep, they could see it. If you're having a tremor, you're thinking, you're knowing it's not possible they don't see it.
Yeah. And I'm lucky that even in that I have the most comforting and reassuring and caring good people that were the ones present. So it wasn't I got criticism that way, and maybe even that was helpful. Just the fact that I'm there shaking and thinking I did a terrible job, and even then, people were warm and much nicer than I am to myself, so.
So I get the idea that that was like one of those, you said something earlier that I was thinking of, like opportunities to test it. And it sounds like you're looking at that as well, there was that opportunity to test it. You couldn't hide your emotions in front of others. And so they knew. So part of how you look at the emotion is, or their reaction, the evidence is, they knew and they didn't seem to be critical. But then it sounds like you argue against that going, well, they're very nice and warm people.
I didn't even think of that, but yeah, that's true. Yeah. Making it specific to them and, yeah.
Well, I didn't mean to discount it.
Yeah, no,
You
I
know,
didn't realize.
I just,
Yeah, so that's one of, yeah, so I argue that way, like I imagine that it kept happening and it kept happening in different situations, then eventually maybe would have enough evidence, I guess, or whatever it is. But then also just that, like, that was like my giving up point. I was just doing it. I mean, I think of just all the, there's pain and suffering, all the suffering that I put myself through before actually just going, and then it was over and people were nice and caring, but like all the thoughts and kind of just destructive just thinking that I put myself through before that, just for that, and I think that ends up being like the most problematic, and then I think just overall it keeps me from really just being in the moment and like enjoying and just like enjoying the process of what I'm doing. I think that's kind of like in life overall, I'm like either like anxious about what's coming next or worried or moving from thing to thing, and that usually is like my MO. If I'm have too much going on or way better, because on the other side of that is like just like feeling very depressed. I think I've had not too many, but at least a few pretty big periods just over life where I've been pretty depressed. So anyways, in either of those situations, I'm not just like in the moment and like enjoying what's happening now, and then I feel bad about it. I feel bad about missing relationships or missing out on relating to people, like great people that I get to spend some time with, and then I don't anymore, but that I could have built a relationship with, because I'm too anxious about what they're gonna think of me, and then I just keep thinking of like, and just missing out on doing things, and yeah,
so it sounded to me like part of what's, well, two things. One is, it sounds like to me that it's a real value for you to make the most of the time that you have with people. That's something that you're saying that matters to you. You really don't want to miss opportunities. And so as you thought about kind of what you went through with this assignment and that, you realized, one, it wasn't worth how much time you spent worrying and being hurt about it, thinking critically about it. In the end, the result wasn't near as bad as you thought it was going to be. And a part of what that matters to you about that is that value that, hey, I missed some of the time. that I could have had with these people.
Yeah, I think, yeah, people, and just opportunities overall, like I see other people starting at the same place I do, whether it be in like, being the new person to join the team, or being the new person to start the program or something, and then doing so much, and I think of all these things I want to do, and I think of like, like, oh, I'd really like to be friends with these people and things like that, and I think I just don't, like, I don't know why, but I like see other people just doing all these things, and me just, having opportunities just pass by, and then I like, and I think I regret a lot of that, and obviously we know regret's not good, because then I'm thinking about the past again, and then I'm making it about me, and I'm like,
So that thought and those feelings of the image that came to me as you were telling that was like you're kind of like an image of you on the sidelines with others more in the mix of things and moving by. And with that thought comes a good bit of your self-criticism again, of like going, well, yeah, you missed this, that was not who you want to be, not how you want to be.
if I'm not, if everybody else is making friends really quick and they're having, great, like, relationships, then, must be something about me that's wrong, or if everybody else is submitting proposals, and I can't get myself to do it, then, it's something about me that's wrong with it. And then I think of maybe it's my expectations, maybe I just need to lower my expectations, but I guess some part of me feels like, well, none of it tried, so I don't even know, and I feel like maybe there could be more that I could be doing, and like, I guess some part of me is not satisfied with just lowering my expectations of what I want my life to look like.
So a mix of thoughts there. Criticism that kind of like from some minutes back when we were talking that were hard for you to say, and you were getting kind of, I guess I'd say kind of stern with yourself, like others are moving ahead, why aren't I? Why aren't you? And then you thought, well, so maybe I'm just asking too much of me. But then you argued with that and said, no, because you don't even know, you don't feel like you don't think you've put yourself out there to know what your potential is yet.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and, part of me wants to think, well, maybe it's just my personality, and maybe I can't change that. And I don't think it's either of them. I don't think it's one or the other. I think partly there's some personality stuff. I think partly I need to grow more comfortable with the fact that I am kind of anxious and some things are hard for me. But also not to the point where I'm like trying anything. I think back of like being, I don't even know, in the first grade, and my teacher, we were going to do a play, and Snow White or something, and everybody wanted to be the princess or Snow White, whatever, and my teacher asked me if I wanted to be it. But I couldn't say anything, and I really wanted, and I wanted, I guess everybody, all the girls wanted to be Snow White, and I couldn't say anything. She offered, several times, and then she was like, okay, well, you don't want to be it, and she picked somebody else, and so I was one of the little horse or whatever. So I think that's kind of how like, I think I have all these opportunities, all these things that I can take advantage of, but I don't take them.
Powerful image from your childhood. When I've got to watch the time and stop in about 5 minutes today. But, you know, there seemed to be like part of you, or part of what you're knowing and deciding is, I'm an anxious person. Some of that is just going to be true of me. It's like your advice to yourself is just be okay with it. But another part of you is very much in a place of, I don't like that. I want it to be Snow White. And whatever equivalent of that there is today.
Still won't be where I want to be if I keep just being mad at myself and trying to be aware of the fact that there is some anxiety that I have, and that will keep coming up when I'm around in social situations. I think I do most of the harm though when I'm like, oh, I'm an anxious person, let me just not go there, let me just not do that, let me just not apply it, just like that. That's going to be too hard. So I guess my hypothesis is that if I maybe just grew a little more acceptant of the fact that, yes, that's going to be hard. I am going to be anxious. I might even sweat some, but it's still something that I can put myself through, and whatever happens won't be devastating. I'll still be there. And I'll do more harm to myself if I keep thinking of negative thoughts beforehand than maybe after putting myself through situations that I think would be too hard several times and then still coming out from them. Then be like, yeah, I'm a little bit of an anxious person, and that's still okay. Like I can still do things and be who I want to be, even though it's hard sometimes. Just that whole like going through things.
So you have an idea. Sounds like it. I'll tell you, I like it. You have an idea of the direction you want to go. And so your idea is you'll tell yourself, yes, I am an anxious person. So I'm going to take on this thing that's going to leave me anxious, and I'm going to be anxious with it. So it sounds like your decision is to push yourself forward while accepting that you're going to be anxious when you push yourself forward. It's going to hurt.
I've tried talking myself out of things. It hasn't worked. I've tried avoiding things, and I've tried even numbing things.
So I'll stop in just about a minute, but the last thing I wanted to attend to is you were saying part of the way you've made this decision is you've tried holding back. That didn't feel good. You've tried avoiding feeling or just not feeling, trying to numb your feelings out. That didn't work well. You've tried talking yourself out of it. That didn't work well. Sometimes as I think of like the areas of our existence as people, we've got feeling that we associate with the heart, thinking that we associate with the brain, and we've got action, doing that we associate maybe more with hands, So it's kind of like your decision right now is, okay, So focus on action doing while telling yourself it's just going to be hard. That's kind of true. So it seems like it's all right with you. Let's stop there for today, and we can schedule for our next meeting.